Bienstock. Last week I was chastised for 2 hours about political commentary I wrote over a period of 13 years, ending about 5 years ago. I listened even though I indicated that the township building is not a place for political commentary, because I believe it is important for everyone, especially anyone holding a position of public trust, to take responsibility for his or her actions. It is my intent this evening, it's my intent to attend this evening's meeting, even if I am again subject to similar abuse. But I can't be there. My colleagues and some others in this room know that my wife has been suffering for the past 3 to 4 years with a very rare debilitating muscular disorder. That in itself does not keep me away. We've been dealing with it. Today she underwent eye surgery, and we were advised that someone must be with her constantly for 24 hours. Sight impediment coupled with the balance issues involved with the muscular disorder make it particularly important for her not to be alone. We planned for our daughter to take over for me so that I could take part in the meeting. The first surgery last week has taken longer than anticipated to heal to the extent that she could do so. God bless the Lord. At last week's meeting, I was asked several times to apologize for my writing. I did not do that. My understanding is that an apology acknowledges an intentional act. It was never my intent to mock or cause any harm to readers or to anyone. As I told reporters who asked me about it during the break, prior to moving on to the business of dealing with Hampden's budget, I know that some politicians, to mollify detractors, resort to saying something like, I was misunderstood. But to me, that comes across as saying that the audience just isn't smart enough to understand nuance, and I didn't want to apply that. So I had to go up. However, it was exasperated by misreporting in 2 of the media outlets, both of which attributed to me comments that were clearly just reporting by me of conclusions reached by a respected government entity. Since that meeting, actually, since the issue was raised in the press release, I've given it a lot of thought. Perception is reality, especially in the political arena. People with different backgrounds and life experiences see it pretty quickly. So while my intent was never to intentionally cast aspersions on anyone in our diverse population, it was received differently by some because of their life experiences. I regret that, take full responsibility for what I wrote. Having been elected by my fellow commissioners to serve as board president for the past several years was the honor and treasure. But the interest is demonstrating how important I believe it is for there not to be distractions to the orderly conduct of township business. These heartfelt comments are accompanied by my voluntary resignation from that position, with a request and motion for acceptance being introduced at the meeting. I will continue to serve on the board to which I was elected by our citizens until the end of my term, first meeting in January 2020, and I will continue to ask Hampton voters to consider my 30-plus years of combined volunteer service on the zoning hearing board, planning commission, and as a commission when they vote on November 5th. It was my intention to say all the above in person at this evening's meeting. Since I cannot, I've asked Board Vice President John Thomas to read these comments in their entirety for the record. I also asked that printed copies of this be distributed between the media representatives to be available to anyone else in the audience who may wish to read them and sign them. Mr. Bienstock. So, that being said, I think the motion would be in order to accept his resignation as chair.
I'll make that motion. Second.
Regularly moved and second, any other question? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Now, I think it would be appropriate to reorganize the board. Somebody has a motion.
Mr. Thomas, I'd like to move that President be John B. Thomas, Vice President be Bienstocks, myself versus the Secretary.
Are there any other further nominations? Then I suggest the nomination be closed.
Second.
in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. Done that. Now I think there's a resolution, which actually in our agenda is, if anybody's following it, is under number 12. Which Mr. Gaspar would like to do now rather than wait till.
I have a resolution, number 2019-35. A resolution of Hampden Township, Cumberland County, Pennsylvania, recognizing and respecting the uniqueness and diversity of all persons. Whereas Hampden Township's motto is where people come first. Whereas Hampden Township has a population of approximately 30,000 people, comprised of varying backgrounds, including national origin, military experience, religion, race, color, sexes, sexual orientations, and gender identities. Whereas human diversity can be defined as differences that are inherent in people, such as race, ethnicity, nationality, gender identity, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, age, physical and/or mental capabilities, and religious beliefs. Whereas all persons possess unique, rich cultural histories, backgrounds, and personal experiences deserving of universal respect and acceptance, and whereas the inherent dignity and worth of every person should be respected. Therefore, be it hereby resolved as follows. That Hampden Township reaffirms the township motto of where people come first, and that Hampden Township, while respecting the freedom of speech, does not condone expressions or actions that are insensitive, disrespectful, and/or demeaning to the diversity of all people. Resolved this 30th day of October 2019 in public session duly assembled, the Township of Hampden.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. We have a regular motion that's been seconded. Is there anything on the question? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay. There's another issue that's been going around the township quite a bit today, and that has to do with trick or treat. Does anybody want to make a motion to change trick or treat night? See none. Here's the deal. This gets, you can always do things about when you go out on trick or treat. And we have, for instance, I live in Indian Creek, and my civic association talked to me about, well, can we do it ourselves if we don't like, if the weather's bad or something like that? I said, sure. We could all do stuff in our developments. I think Westover might be talking about doing something on some night. One of the problems we have, and we kick this around quite a bit during the day, there's a couple different weather reports. The one that our fire chief, I guess, what is it? Emergency management says that there's possibility of high winds. The winds would bother me more than the rain, because we've had rain before. AccuWeather says there's a 30-some% chance of rain at 6 o'clock. Which I can't understand, because the other reports are going like 80% chances of rain at 6 o'clock. So I don't know, is there any weathermen here in the room that can explain to me how one can be 30% and one can be 80%? It's the same darn weather, but in any event, it gets a little tricky for more than one reason. One of them is that our police department has to schedule the way it works, like 2 months ahead of time when they have special duty. So we have policemen scheduled for tomorrow night between the hours of 6 and 8 to drive through our neighborhoods to make sure that the traffic is calm and that the kids are safe and so on and so forth. And we do that every year. Every year when it's trick or treat, we do what we can to make sure that the public feels safe when the kids are out and about. You can't just change that as easy as you can change, well, we'll do it on a different night. So that's one thing. There are a couple other things that come involved too. But I think what's going to happen later on, Commissioner Silcox, is going to discuss this. He's our delegate to the Council of Governments. And that's where probably this all started years ago. We used to do it, I think, I was told the third Thursday of the month or something like that. Third Thursday of the month.
Third Monday.
Was it Monday? It was a long time. So, and anyhow, they used to do it on a given day, and everybody pretty much did it the same day, maybe except Mechanicsburg because they had the parade. And I'm not sure. But the difficulty, and we talked to Chief Fetro, who's Commissioner Fetro, and people used to, what they used to do is they used to go from municipality to municipality depending on who was having Halloween that night. And so we'd get cars in Hampden Township from other places when they come over here because we were having Halloween, say, on this night, and say in another municipality they were having on that night. And the kids were getting a lot of candy. So everybody decided that, well, why don't we just all do it on the same night? And then everybody goes out and stay in their own communities where they just visit, like, you know, if you're right next door to Camp Hill or so, you just stick around in your neighborhoods. And that's been working for us. So maybe what we ought to do, and I think what Mr. Silcox is going to do, is when we see if we can't, when we sit down and say, what if we have a windstorm or something like that? Shouldn't we have some kind of an understanding? I mean, a little bit of rain is going to hurt anybody, but a storm where you got heavy winds and lightning and so on and so forth, that might be something where we ought to do something. We talked about, well, maybe we could do something at our facilities building and have like a party for the kids. Get the land with, you know, deal with candy. And there's a whole bunch of things that will go into that too. So I think the bottom line was, we figured, well, leave it alone. If the developments want to, we'll help out. Call the police department, and they'll have, if they can, send a car through the development, make sure that if like Westover or Indian Creek or somebody's having something that night, that they get a police presence for that development too. So everybody can do what they want to do, and I guess we'll just leave it alone for the most of it. Okay, everybody's here for that. The next thing on the agenda is the presentation to the past and present members of the Hampden Township Veterans Recognition Committee. I think Commissioner Silcox is the star, frankly, on this effort. And over there is a picture of that park, and I think we can get it up in there.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. It's my real pleasure tonight to recognize current and past members of the Hampden Township Veterans Recognition Committee. And as John said, this is something that that I've been involved with since the beginning, and certainly the highlight of my tenure as a commissioner here in Hampden Township. See the concept of initially was supposed to be a veterans memorial at one of our veterans park, which turned into a park and a memorial, and to see it really come to fruition, here in 2019 when we began this in 2010. So I'm going to read the resolution. It's not the whole thing. There's 4 pages worth of the history of the Hampden Township Veterans Recognition Committee, and then I'm going to present citations to the past and present members here of the committee that are here tonight. And it's my heartfelt pleasure here to present them, these to the members. We initiated this on April 29, 2010, in terms of forming the Hampden Township Veterans Recognition Committee. The mission of the committee was to make recommendations and provide advice to the Hampden Township Board of Commissioners for purposes of recognizing veterans in Hampden Township, providing and increasing public awareness of Hampden Township veterans, making recommendations for the establishment of a veterans memorial, assisting in raising funds to finance those recommendations that are approved by the commissioners, and engaging in any and all other activities and tasks as the commissioners may decide from time to time relating to the purposes of veterans recognition. On September 16, 2010, we held our first meeting. The members of the original committee were Bob Campbell, U.S. Navy, James Clay Sr., U.S. Navy, Gary Coburn, U.S. Army, retired, and Missouri Army National Guard, retired, Bonnie Jarbeck Klein, Paul Kreiner Jr., U.S. Army, retired, Justin Leventree, Leon Locke, U.S. Army and U.S. Navy, retired, Chris Patrick, U.S. Marine Corps, retired, Charles Sikavich, U.S. Marine Corps retired, Pennsylvania Air National Guard, and myself. By May of the following year, 2011, we participated in our first Hampden Township Memorial Day program and have since then have organized and run the event, and it's turned out to be a very nice program at the Veterans Park. In June of 2012, with the support of the committee, the Board of Commissioners accepted 18 acres from Giant, the future home of the Hampden Township Veterans Park. So again, when we first thought about a Veterans Memorial, we were talking about somewhere in the price tag of $200,000. That's Silver Springs is right around $180,000. And then when we're talking about a park, we're talking about exponentially in terms of the dollar amounts needed to be raised for a park and a memorial. In March of 2013, the committee issued a request for proposal to begin development of a preliminary master plan. And as you'll see here, that's a picture of the initial master plan that came in. On May 14, 2014, one of our original members, Leon Locke, passed away, and since a few years into the operation here, we had a consensus of the members to name the memorial after Leon. And Leon was from the greatest generation. He was in World War II. Like I said, he was both U.S. Army as well as U.S. Navy, and for one. Leon wasn't a special man in any terms of sense in terms of his citizenry, but like I said, the greatest generation, he did his duty. He went to war and did something extraordinary from there in terms of not only being in the Army. I think it was Army first, Gary, and then went on to serve in the U.S. Navy after that as well. And the story of that is incredible. We'll talk about that if anybody wishes to, but Leon represents the everyday person that went to serve our nation, and that's why the memorial was named after Leon Locke, fittingly. We've held several fundraisers through the course of time here, and again, this was supposed to be a community-driven effort, and so the bulk of the funds that have gone towards this project have been raised through fundraisers, whether it was through our initial basket bingos. Ultimately, we had a golf outing that we put into play in, I believe that was 2011. We had our golf outing, and we've done one every year. September 2011, first golf outing. We had a 5K run, the Shamrock Shuffle. My favorite event is the Wing Madness event, if you like chicken wings. It's a great event in May, held over at the Park Inn. But inside of that, we've held numerous events, whether it's the Memorial Day service, whether it's the 9/11 service, whether it's the Veterans Day service. And speaking of the Veterans Day service, it's coming up on Sunday, November 10th at 2 o'clock p.m. at the Hampden Township Veterans Park. In 2013, the committee decided in order to help raise larger sums of money, became a nonprofit entity. And so it spun off from the township, and the township has a memorandum of understanding between the Veterans Recognition Committee in terms of responsibilities here on both ends. And the Veterans Recognition Committee has raised the vast majority of the funds here for the project. The township certainly has contributed some, but through all these enterprises that I talked about, the committee has primarily raised the funds, and for that we're eternally grateful. In 2014, Gary Coburn took over as chairman of the organization and has run it superbly since then. And I can't say enough in terms of my thanks and gratitude to Gary for leading the efforts. I know he's going to defer and say it's a lot of it, for the rest of the committee. But Gary, you deserve some special recognition for everything you've done on that front. But to all the members, it's been extremely gratifying working with each and every one of you from 2010 now to 2019. Some members are, like I said, past members, but they're still involved in spirit or in events and have seen this thing grow. One member, Scott Alvarez, donated he works for the U.S. Navy, was able to obtain a propeller, and And it sat on the sidelines here for a number of years, and we had it in our public works department until an Eagle Scout project came along. And eventually now that propeller is mounted and is visible, and it looks wonderful at the Veterans Park. And so all these contributions that every single member has utilized and served, you know, it doesn't go unnoticed. But the most gratifying part about this whole thing has been it's no longer, you know, just one person's or the committee's park. It is truly a community park with all the Eagle Scout projects that have come into fruition, with all the side projects that have gone into there. The community support has been outstanding, and I can't say enough. It's still a work in progress, and we'll show a couple slides here if you can see it. We'll flip to the next one. You'll see in 2015 we finally broke ground on the park in terms of the basic infrastructure. So a lot of the initial dollars raised were just for the initial infrastructure, and crossing that stream was quite an undertaking in itself. But we're able to install a culvert to get over there, and you'll see the initial infrastructure. If you can move to the next one, you'll see again the initial design, and where we're at a little bit ago. It looks a little bit better than the bottom picture, but the memorial is there, the flags are in place. We have 12 points of remembrance for each of our nation's war, and the beauty of that is as you walk up to the memorial from the parking lot, you see each of the 12 points of remembrance, and it really puts you in the right frame of mind as you get up to the memorial itself. And with the flags, and now the star has been put in place on the concrete bowl there, and a lot of work has been done just this year. And so, you know, while the park, you know, continues to grow and be completed, and there's a number of projects that still need to be done, wanted to take some time out this evening here to recognize those members that have put in a great deal of work. And certainly as the years go by, you know, like I said, we've lost Leon Locke, we also lost James Clay, who passed away a couple years ago, and it's important for us to recognize the accomplishments of all of you that have done so much for this Veterans Park. So if I could have a round of applause for each of the members of the Veterans Park. Each of the members will come up. I'm going to present you with a copy of the citation here, and you can read the whole thing at your leisure. But thank you guys very much. Come on over again. Why don't you start off over here? Thank you so much. Thank you. Bob. How you doing? Good to see you. Harlan. Absolutely faithful. Thank you. Gary, you stay the one last. We'll get there. Bob? Bob? Larry? Justin, I see you. Any other in the crowd before Gary? Come on up. Once again, can we have another round of applause here, Gary? Thank you very much, Gary. You can.
I just want to say it's been a great privilege and honor to have been associated with all the current board members that are here tonight, all the ones that I haven't seen in a long time. It's good to see some old friends. It's been a total team